Namaskar everyone. I welcome you all to another edition of Daily News Analysis. Today is 1st January 2026 and I, on behalf of NextS family, extend our regards on this new year. We hope that you will succeed in this year and stay healthy and wise. Let us quickly look at the news items which we will be covering for the day. So, we have taken certain articles from the Indian Express and the Hindu both. So, on Indian Express page 1 and page 2, we have a news item by the name US firm and NTPC to team up, fuel India's thorium ambition. On page 10, on the Hindu, we have India's space program, a people's space journey. This is an editorial by Dr. Somnath, who was the chief of ISRO. On page 16, on the Hindu, again we have an article where the DRDO carries out Salvo launch of Pralay missile. So, that is one of the articles which we will be covering today. Next in line on page 16 again is National Drug Survey to examine indigenous substance use pattern. Next and the last article for the day on page 17 will be when FIIs flew from the Indian stocks. So, these are the 5 articles we will be covering today. Before we move on to the articles, let us quickly look at the quote of the day. So, today being the new year, I have borrowed the quote from the Vedas, the ancient scriptures. The quote which I borrowed is Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhina, Sarve Santu Niramaya, Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu, Ma Kaschid Dukh Bhavat Bhavet, which in Hindi roughly translates to सभी सुखी होवें, सभी रोग मुक्त रहें, सभी का जीवन मंगलमय बने और कोई भी दुख का भागी ना बने. हे ईश्वर, हे भगवान, हमें ऐसा वरदान दीजिए. So, today being the first day of this new year, we as a society, we as a team, we at NextIS hope that this quote inculcates in your life and the true essence of this gets into this upcoming year into your habits. Fine. Let us move to the first news article. So, we have talked about it's on from the Indian Express. It says US firm and NTPC to team up fuel India's thorium ambition. So, this is a news article about the thorium ambitions of India and how a US startup by the name of Chicago-based startup by the name of Clean Core Thorium Energy is going to help India achieve that. So, the short summary of the article says India's proposed collaboration between NTPC and US based Clean Core Thorium Energy will mark a significant development in India's long term nuclear energy strategy. Enabled by the recent Shanti Act of 2025, we will see what it achieves. The initiative aims to accelerate thorium utilization, a core pillar of India's 3-stage nuclear program that will enhance energy security and strategic autonomy for the country. Fine. Next, we'll have a look at the background about the thorium and what India's nuclear program and vision is all about. So, India has pursued a 3-stage nuclear program when it comes to nuclear energy since the 1950s, but there are certain limitations. The limitations are due to the uranium reserves. So, India has a limited uranium reserves, but to its counter, India is abundant with thorium. We will see where is the distribution of this thorium. Fine. So, let us quickly look at what the 3 stages of the nuclear program in India is all about. So, the first stage is about the pressurized heavy water reactors. The fuel used is natural uranium as such, which is enriched. Then the second stage is about the fast breeder reactors, FBRs, which have been in news constantly. Plutonium was being used as a fuel here. Then the third stage, this advanced third stage would be the advanced reactors, and they will use thorium that will be extracted from uranium 233. So, this thorium, how it is going to help accelerate India's program this article is about that, and we are going to go beyond that and look at how things are going to operate with the help of the startup we are talking about. So, we have already told you that India's nuclear reactor program, it was envisaged in late 1950s only, but due to scaling up issues of stage 2, that is fast breeder reactors, they have slowed down India's transition to a thorium based energy. So, that is a limitation which the program is facing. Next, we can talk about is the significance of the collaboration which is going to happen. So, the significance of the NTPC CCTE collaboration. CCTE, remember, is the startup we are talking about. So, we have already covered about the Shanti Bill as such, how it marks a tectonic shift in India's nuclear policy. So, the first is about that only, the policy shift under the Shanti Act. So, why does it matter? Why the bill, why the act now it matters? So, for the first time it is going to allow private participation in nuclear power operations. Private role will be there in nuclear fuel management also, and thereby it creates a scope for foreign collaborations as such. Till now the sector was heavily dominated by state agencies, state PSUs and other firms, but now it has opened its gates for foreign collaborators and private sectors as well. Fine, thereby breaking the exclusive state control which I have already told you. Then the next point, the significance is the early deployment of thorium. So, we have seen in the 3-stage program of India that the thorium deployment was limited and was limited to the 3rd stage only. If we go back to the previous slides, you will look that the 3rd stage only employed the thorium as the fuel. But this partnership, what it does is that the startup CCTE has developed a fuel named as anil, which is going to blend. So, this fuel anil or whatever you want to say is going to blend thorium with halloy. Halloy is high assay low enriched uranium. So, it is a variant of aluminum which is low enriched, and that is going to be blended with thorium to make out a new fuel for the nuclear based power plants known as anil. This is going to initiate and sustain the reactions with thorium. Why this anil fuel is important for us? Because this can be directly employed in the existing pressurized heavy water reactors, thereby it bypasses the dependency on full FBR capacity. What was the limitation is the 2nd stage till it attained the full capacity of this feeder reactors. Till that point it cannot be the thorium would not be employed and the 3rd stage would not be initiated, but with this fuel, with this the coming of this fuel, we can directly incorporate thorium as a fuel in the existing pressurized heavy water reactors only in the 1st stage and make use of thorium as a fuel. Then the next is the role of NTPC, which the article also talks about. So, NTPC has a minority equities investment which aligns with its target of 30 gigawatt of nuclear capacity by 2047. So, what it signals? It signals diversification of power generation. So, from the nuclear fuel cycle and advanced technologies, there is going to be a mix in the power generation type for NTPC also. The focus will be on retrofitting thorium fuel into the existing reactors, which we have already noticed here in the existing pressurized heavy water reactors, and not building an entirely new ones. So, no requirement of making a new reactors, advanced reactors where thorium could be employed will be required now, and with the use of this fuel we can directly use the existing infrastructure of pressurized heavy water reactors to make use of the available thorium as such. Next, extending on the significance, we will talk about certain advantages of thorium based nuclear power plant, nuclear energy as such. So, we have divided into certain sections. So, the first is on the energy and strategic benefit. So, the first point in it is about the resource perspective. So, initially also I have told you that India has a limited presence of uranium, which is the prime fuel for nuclear energy, but India has abundant thorium reserves. Fine. So, India is well endowed with thorium reserves, and thus it makes us in a very it places us in a very advantageous position when it comes to this the use of making use of such technologies. So, where are the major thorium deposits situated? So, we have in the coastal sands of Kerala and Odisha, the monazite sand. So, for people who have been preparing diligently and going through PYQs, you will find many of PYQs, at least 3 I remember, which are directly based on the availability of this monazite sand across India. So, the prime locations being Kerala and Odisha, thereby it reduces the import of uranium, fine, thereby it sustains the long term energy security and strategic autonomy of India as such. Coming to the safety and environment benefit, so it produces less long lived radioactive waste, fine. So, when it comes to thorium, it is less radioactive in nature, thereby it is producing less radioactive waste also. It lowers nuclear proliferation risk also, because the level of radioactiveness is less than uranium for thorium. And again, thorium is a fertile material and directly not fissile, so it does not initiate the reaction on its own, fine, thereby the reactor safety is improved by margins, fine. So, these are certain advantages which the technology is going to offer to us. Then about the economic benefit, so we have already talked about the availability of thorium as such in India only. So, the import bills will cut, then there will be a potential reduction in operating cost of the existing reactors, because the technology does not want you to create a new advanced reactor for plutonium thorium as such. So, existing infrastructure in the second stage reactors, pressurized heavy water reactors, can only be utilized directly, and some small modifications when done, thorium can be utilized in those nuclear reactors only and will be done. Then there will be better utilization of the existing pressurized heavy water reactors. Again, the used fuel and future pathway when we talk about, so used fuel from pressurized heavy water reactors can be reprocessed and recycled for further power generations, thereby it also opens pathway for molten salt water reactors, molten salt reactors, which is a future technology which is very much talked about. A task which I can give you is to study about this, sorry, just a second. Go and study about the molten salt reactors. So, what is the fuel to be used here, what is the technology deployed, what are the advantages and what are the limitations. These 4 heads should be dealt by you, and you can have a small one pager on the molten salt water reactors too, which is a technology of future as such, fine. Then at last we have the faster transition away from the imported nuclear fuel, again the same thing we have talked about. Then at last we will like to cover what are the challenges involved. So, the first and the foremost challenge is about the technological and regulatory challenges. So, thorium is fertile, not fissile, so it requires advanced complex fuel cycles to convert into a fissile material as such. So, that level of technology, that complex process has to be initiated. Then there is large scale commercial deployment, and that remains unproved globally. So, that has not been achieved on a global scale as such now, as of now, and that remains a unproven technology as such till date. Then second point is about the nuclear liability and safety. So, when the state is involved, the government is involved of a country, then there is a sovereign guarantee of regarding safety. But when private participation takes place, there always comes a safety concerns with the nuclear liability, safety oversight, and the regulatory capacity of the institutions such as the AERB, which is the regulatory body for nuclear or atomic energy. Fine. Our task, one of the tasks which I can give you again here is to find out whether it is a statutory body or not, or an executive body, who is the chairman here, and what its mandate. Fine. So, two things which you can look about is, then the third is about the strategic and geopolitical sensitivity. So, dependence on foreign technology, because the conversion of thorium from fertile to fissile material will require imported technologies also. So, this dependence on the foreign technology and the halua supply, despite we owing having thorium in abundance, this halua, which is a fuel which has to be used to make the new fissible fuel for the technology, that has to be imported. So, there will be a need and dependence on that also. Then there will always be a need to balance cooperation for strategic autonomy, because we have recently seen that we have grown strained ties with USA due to the tariffs imposed by the present regime. So, that will be a cause of concern, and this will be have to be dealt on a diplomatic front also. Then what is the way forward? The way forward will be to strengthen the indigenous R&D system in thorium fuel cycle, so that we do not have to import the technology for involved in that complex conversion from fertile to fissionable material. Then gradually we should be expanding the thorium use through pilot projects in the existing this pressurized heavy water reactors. Then robust regulatory oversight has to be developed, so that the concerns of private sectors being not very much concerned about the safety gets allayed. So, regulatory oversight has to be there. Fine. Then finally, we have to integrate thorium strategies with climate committees, clean energy transitions, and the actions of Atmanirbhar Bharat in nuclear technology as such. Fine. I have got a practice question from 2022. I have already talked about the monazite sand questions. We already had a question in 2009, I guess. So, this is a question from Civil Service Prelims 2022. Fine. So, pause for a moment and attempt this question. I will just read out the question for you. With reference to India, consider the following statement: monazite is a source of rare earth, monazite contains thorium, monazite occurs naturally in the entire coastal sands in India. Fine. In India, government bodies only can process or export monazite. So, you have the code been given, and try to give the answer in the comment section as such. Next article which we can talk about is on the editorial page of the Hindu today, and is being written by the former ISRO chairman S. Somanath, under whom the famous Chandrayaan 3 mission was successfully completed. So, the title of the editorial is India's Space Program, a People's Space Journey. So, the main theme of the article is how India's space journey has evolved from a mission based journey to a more people accommodative journey as such. Fine. So, the short summary which we can look here is about how India's space program, what I have told you, has evolved from the elite scientific missions to a more people centric national endeavor. So, it has been mainstreamed into and mainstreamed into the national targets now. So more of a targeted approach has been adopted to take care of these programs rather than just being a endeavor of the future as such. Now it has been integrated as a tool of governance, a driver of economic growth, and a source of national identity and aspiration. If you would recall, when Chandrayaan 2 in 2019, it was not able to land on the moon. It had a crash there. So the whole nation was in grief. There was a moment of grief. The Prime Minister itself went to the station and he hugged the chairman there, so that he could show solidarity with them, the scientist community working in the ISRO as such. But when the same team, during the success of Chandrayaan 3, when that happened, then the Prime Minister again applauded the team, and that became a source of national identity as such. This transformation that aligns with the vision of Amrit Kal and Viksit Bharat 2047 as such. Fine. So that is the short summary we can talk about. Let us go more deep into the article. So before we go into the article, I have summarized, rather I have structured the article in my own way, and let us quickly look at the evolution of India's space program. Fine. So India's space program that has evolved from a mission centric achievement to a more people centric national movement aligned with the spirit of Amrit Kal, reflecting national aspiration and identity. Some of the recent major milestones which the program has achieved, to begin with, the Chandrayaan missions, the primary success stories of ISRO in recent times. If we talk about, the first was the Chandrayaan 1 mission in 2008. So there we had the Moon Impact Probe as one of the payloads. Fine. And thereby it confirmed the presence of water molecules to be present on moon. Then in 2019, as I already told you, Chandrayaan 2 was scheduled to go on moon with its the lander Vikram and rover Pragyan, but this did not achieve a soft landing on moon surface, was not achieved, and thereby it crashed on the surface. Then to follow that, because the orbiter itself of Chandrayaan 2 was in operational mode, so again Chandrayaan 3 was designed, and it became the first ever soft landing achieved by India, and also the first ever to land near the lunar's south pole. Fine. The next we can talk about is about the Mars orbiter mission, the famous Mangalyaan or the MOM mission. So in 2014, India became the first Asian nation and fourth globally to reach Mars orbit in its first go. So that was a major feat to be achieved by Asian country and on a world scale too. Then recent times we have seen Aditya L1 mission in 2023, which is to study the sun's corona and the space weather in the solar sphere. Then we had ExpoSat in 2024, where research on black holes are being made. Then we had the SpaceX in 2024, where the in orbit docking was being demonstrated. This is a part of the Gaganyaan mission too. Fine. Then a trustworthy of India's space journey has been exhibited in the recent times, where over 400 foreign satellites were launched using the Indian satellite launch vehicles also. So you can very well imagine how much the countries of the world are trusting Indian launch vehicles. Even countries, the well developed countries, are employing the Indian launch vehicles such as PSLV, GSLV and other aspects. So we were talking about the SpaceX mission as such. Extending the argument here, we can talk about the human space flight program of ISRO, which is known as the Gaganyaan. Fine. So, Gaganyaan, it is progressing day by day, and what are the targets that has been given by the government? So, an approved outlay of 20,000 plus crore, 20,000 plus crore rupees has been given by the government. 4 Indian Air Force pilots, they are being undergoing astronaut trainings as such. Fine. With the help of friendly countries such as Russia, they are being trained to survive in those zero gravity conditions. Fine. Then a planned uncrewed and crewed mission is also being targeted. Thereby, India wants its first indigenous human space mission by 2027, and by 2040 we are planning to have the first Indian human on moon surface. So, that is the major plan which India wants to achieve. Then the Prime Minister Modi has also envisaged to have a pool of 40 to 50 trained astronauts that can anytime get into those future missions as and when required. Fine. Let us talk about the future space vision and roadmap. So, the upcoming missions, the Gaganyaan continuation we have already talked about, Chandrayaan 4 and Chandrayaan 5, that is for deeper lunar exploration. Chandrayaan 4 is being planned with Japan, in collaboration with Japan. Fine. Then we have a dedicated Venus mission known as Shukrayaan, which is also in line to be launched, that will study about the sister planet Venus as such. Then the Bharati Antariksh Station, that is being planned to be operative by 2035 as such. So, the SpaceX will also be used in here for orbital docking mechanism. Fine. These goals now are framed as national targets. That is the difference now, that these are part of our national strategy, national targets, and the outcomes from these the visions or the targets as such is being integrated into governance, which we talked about in the very first slide, and there are not mere distant ambitions as such. Fine. So, that is the case. Let us talk about a little about the space sector reform and private participation which has recently occurred. So, in recent times the space sector is open to private players as such. The agency has also been divided into Antariksh. First is the ISRO, just a second. So, there will be now 3 agencies operating. First will be ISRO, that will be for primary research and development. Then we have Antariksh and NSIL. So, I have told you about ISRO, what it is going to primarily focus on now from now onwards. You go and search about these two, Antariksh and NSIL. I will give you a hint, they are associated with launch, handling launch and finding partners from across the world. So, that is the hint which I can give you. Your task is to find the function of these two as such. Then coming back to here, so the private sector, the space sector has been open to private players, and that has created a vibrant ecosystem of about 350 plus startups in this segment. Famous startups such as Agnikul, Cosmos is there, People might have heard about this. Then we have the Skyroot Aerospace. So these two are famous startups from the space sector as such. This has enabled private development of satellites, launch vehicles and the ground based system as such. Fine. The space budget, so from 2013-14 till recent 25-26, it has almost tripled of its original amount. So in 2013-14 it was near about 5615 crores. Now it has come to a tune of 13,416 crores. So it's almost thrice the budget has increased. India's space economy now is being valued at a whopping $8 billion as such, and is projected to grow up to $44 billion. So that is the potential the sector is having of getting to 5 times as such of its existing value. The government, what it aims to scale the launches to 50 per year. Fine. So it is going to find friendly countries which are in search of putting their satellites and other things into the space, and so India would provide its launch vehicles to them and try to boost up its space sector. So next we can talk about the global collaboration and leadership. So India is poised to become a global leader when it comes to space agency. It is amongst the top 4th or 5th leader as such. India also positions space as a global common. There will be no hegemony of any country as such which India wants. It views space as a global common to be utilized for peaceful purposes only. Some of the collaboration which you can remember, and that will be coming very handy when it comes to prelims. Fine. So the NISAR project, that is being done in collaboration with NASA USA. The Trishna project, that is being done with CNES France. The LUPEX, that is being done with JAXA Japan. The Proba 3, that is being done with European Space Agency of Europe. Initiatives, so India as a responsible neighbor has initiated certain projects in its neighborhood, like the South Asian satellite, which will help the countries of the SAARC minus Pakistan as such. G20 climate satellite was also launched for environmental monitoring as such. Then these initiatives, these has been guided by the ethos of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, which was the tagline of the G20 summit, which was organized in India only. Fine. So coming to Aditya L1, let us look at the infographic, what it talks about. So it says Aditya L1 is India's third biggest, largest extraterrestrial outing after Moon and Mars. Fine. So that is the scale of operation which you are talking about. It was sanctioned in 2008 at the cost of 127.5 crores, and it was launched recently in September 2023 after Chandrayaan 3 successfully landed on the surface of Moon using PSLV rocket. Fine. It also has 7 payloads on it, the instrument, which will focus on Sun's outer corona, the magnetic field and the solar winds as such. The aircraft is a 400 kg aircraft and spacecraft, sorry, and that will be used to study the surface, the Sun's outer corona and the magnetic fields and other aspects of it. Fine. Let us move ahead. So we've talked about this, so that it is India's first dedicated solar mission. It also marks ISRO's first exclusive mission to study the Sun. So it is the first and foremost step taken by India to study the Sun, expanding India's space program from planetary explosion to heliophysics. So heliophysics is the science of dealing with Sun, the physics involved in studying of the Sun, that is heliophysics. Launch and orbit, we've already talked about the date, September 2023, the satellite was launched using the PSLV launch vehicle. where it will be placed now. So, the Aditya L1, that will be by its name, it has been inculcated in there only, will be placed around this Earth Sun Lagrange point 1, that we call as L1, which is at approximately 1.5 million kilometers distance from the Earth. Fine. Why now? Let us know what is this Lagrange point about. So, Lagrange point, we'll go to the previous slide first. So, this is the Lagrange point. So, here we have the Sun, here we have the Earth. So, Lagrange points are points where the pull of the Moon and the Earth will be balanced off. So, that will be cancelled out by the mutual vector, the gravity vector will be mutually cancelled off. So, there are 5 Lagrange points as such: L1, L2, L4, L3 and L5 as such. So, these are the 5 Lagrange point where the gravity vectors of both the pulls are cancelled out and we find a stable spot. But out of these 5, the most stable, free from occultation or any disturbance or as such, and the closest towards the Sun is the Lagrange point 1, and that is the prime spot where the intended aircraft has been placed now in 2024. Fine. So, that is the importance of Lagrange point, that it allows continuous uninterrupted observation of the Sun. You very well saw that this was Sun, this was Earth, so this was point 1. So, that was most near to the Sun thing, it was 5 here I guess, 2 was here, so it was behind, 2, 3 and 4. So, that was the situation, we have the Sun here. Fine. So, that is the that allows for the continuous observation of Sun and the most uninterrupted observation of Sun. There is no occultation or eclipse. Let us consider point 2, there is also not effect of the Sun flares, but there is no direct observation when it comes to L2. There will be eclipse by Earth or Moon in L2, that all is avoided when it comes to point L1. Fine. That is ideal for real time monitoring of the solar activities as such. Again, by the diagram itself, that is being clear. What are the scientific objects which are involved? So, it will study Sun's corona, chromosphere and photosphere. So, these are the layer the layers of the Sun. So, what a task again I will propose is, you all sit back and there are certain layers of Earth, Sun, being chromosphere, fine, photosphere, corona, core. So, try to arrange this from the center point to the outermost layer. Fine, that is a task I propose, and that you can do and very well maintain for the upcoming prelims as such. Then it will be able to understand solar flares, coronal mass injection, solar winds, and thereby it will help us to examine how these activities, let us say coronal mass injection or solar flares, these affect the Earth's space weather. So, these solar flares, they have a very specific phenomena when it comes to the Earth due to the magnetic field of Earth. What it is called, you can comment in the comment box and let us know. Fine, it is a very beautiful phenomena. I will give you a hint. It is observed mostly in areas of in polar areas as such, or weather where the weather will be very clear. Another hint which I can give you is, in India also it is observed in the region of Ladakh as such. Fine. So, the payloads, I already told you it has 7 payloads. but and it is designed to observe the sun in multiple wavelengths. So, different wavelengths, UV, X-ray, visible, it will observe and give its observation as such. Fine. Next we can talk about is the important international solar missions as such. So, that can be a question, match the following questions. So, some of the important and the famous ones are the Parker mission, that was by NASA, that is USA only, in 2018, that is the closest aircraft that has ever been to sun. Then next we have the solar orbiter, that was jointly conducted by ESA and NASA in 2020. Fine. It captured high resolution images, and it also helped to understand the 11-year solar cycle. So, that is the time period for a solar cycle, 11 years, if that is a question that can be asked. Then the next we had the SOHO. SOHO was jointly conducted by NASA and ESA back in 1995. So, it is an old decade, mostly 3-4 decades old mission now. Fine. The full name by itself is Solar and Heliospheric Observatory. So, kind of observatory in those days, and it was the longest running solar mission as such. Fine. You do not need to remember the details of these missions as such, but only which agencies were involved in the supporting the missions. If you can get through that, expected match the following can be there. Next we talk about HINODE. HINODE was taken up by JAXA. JAXA is an agency of Japan. Fine. It focused on the hydrodynamics of sun. Fine. So, how the core, the liquid portion of the sun, how it rotates to create a magnet, that is what the effects of those, the things about those things, that was being studied in this hydrodynamics, not to be studied by you as such, but a small brief idea if you have, that will be enough for us. Then the last is about the ASO, that is the Kuafo 1 spacecraft, that was by China in recent 2022 only. Fine. What it aimed was to understand solar impacts on Earth's near space environment. So, again that phenomena which I have talked about and asked you to comment in the box is being dealt here again. The next article which we can talk about is that it is covered in the Hindu newspaper. DRDO carries out Salvo launch of Pralay missiles. So, DRDO, that is Defence Research and Development Organization, it recently carried out Salvo launch of 2 indigenous Pralay missiles from the same launcher. We will see what the Salvo launch is in a brief moment of time. From the same launcher on Wednesday, fine, that is yesterday only, at 10:30 am of the coast of Odisha from the Integrated Testing Center at Chandipur. So, from where? From Chandipur it conducted these tests, fine, conducted as part of the evaluation trial. So, these were conducted on demand of the end user, that is the defence forces, and according to the ministry, both missiles were followed by intended trajectory and met all mission objective as such. Fine. We have talked about that it was fired from the integrated test range in Chandipur. Fine. So, that is the news in brief which we can know. Let us move ahead and look how this is important for our prelims. So, the article summary summarized for you that the DRDO successfully conducted salvo launches of 2 indigenous Prelay missiles from single launcher of the Odisha coast as part of user evaluation exercise. Some of the key fact about the missiles as such, because defense missile will be an important part when it comes to prelims. Some kind of questions, direct questions based on them, or some kind of match the column can be taken care. So, the missile tested was Pralay. Fine. Pralay, what it is an indigenously built surface to surface type missile, a short range ballistic missile. So, keep in mind the difference between, we'll see the difference between ballistic and cruise missile as such. Fine. Or rather you can go and look at yourself. I will prefer you go and look at yourself. What I can give you at this moment is the trajectories of these two missiles. So, let us say this is some certain obstacle. Here I have the enemy target, fine. Here I have my launch vehicle, the launcher, I have my missiles loaded, fine. So, I have now two options with me, either to go with the ballistic missiles as such or the cruise missile as such. What the ballistic missile is about? So, this is the atmospheric layer for us. So, ballistic missile will go and follow a parabolic path. What the cruise missile will do is, and boom. So, these are the two, this is cruise missile and this is the ballistic missile. So, for ballistic missiles, once you fire and then after the initial propulsion, it goes under the effect of gravity or momentum as such. It generally follows a parabolic path and mostly is under the influence of gravity as such. Also, the one major point of difference between two is that ballistic missiles generally apart from the initial and the descending stage remains outside the atmosphere as such, fine, while the cruise missile they operate in a very low altitude as such, fine. Then another point of difference which we can talk about is the precision. So, when it comes to ballistic missiles, they are less precise in nature because they are not guided. Once you fire them, they come under the influence of gravity or momentum as such, and then they are on their own. But while in the case of cruise missile, you have jet propulsions with them, jet engines operating in them, and that helps to exactly locate and have pinpoint operation. An example of cruise missiles which I can give you is the famous BrahMos missile. So, we all remember that on 7th May what happened? Operation Sindoor happened, and India used these supersonic BrahMos missiles to have a pinpoint accuracy and destroy the terrorist target deep inside the territory of Pakistan as such. So, these missiles were used. Example of BrahMos can be Agni, Prithvi series and others as such, fine. Another point of difference is about the detection. So, ballistic missiles, because they are mostly outside the atmosphere and they are high altitude also, they can be easily detected by the radar system. But when it comes to cruise missiles, because they operate at a low altitude as such, so the detection becomes a tedious task. Again, another point of difference which we can have is about the speed. So, ballistic missiles they operate at hypersonic speed, and whereas the cruise missiles they operate at subsonic or maximum at supersonic only. So, that is a point of difference again. Then most of the differences I have already covered. So, yes, that is the difference we have talked about. Coming back to the discussion. So, what we are discussing? We are discussing about the Pralay missiles. We digressed just to have a quick brush up of the types of two missiles, ballistic and cruise missiles. So, this Pralay missile is a indigenously developed surface to surface missile of the ballistic type that has a strike range of about 150 to 500 kilometers. So, what is to be remembered? Ballistic missile, surface to surface, range when it comes to is about 150 to 500 kilometers. This is the point where UPSC could play. It could say that it has a range of about 1500 to 5000 kilometers, and you may fall into the trap. So, be very careful when it comes to range, then it can carry multiple types of warheads against various targets, so including the nuclear warhead as such. Launch type. So, launch type was salvo launch. What is meant by salvo launch? So, when you intend to fire multiple multiple missiles from the same point, same launch vehicle, then it is known as salvo launch. So, in this case 2 missiles were used and they were launched from the same vehicle. So, that is why it was a salvo launch type. Fine. Well, the test location we have already talked of, the coast of Odisha, conducted in the integrated test range at Chandipur, that is under the control of DRDO as such. Fine. Conducted as part of user evaluation exercise. Outcomes we have talked about. We will move to the next slide as such. So, again continuing with that about the missile as such, we have talked about one thing which I have missed that can be added here is about the this slide, the type of fuel which is being used in this Pralay missile. So, add in that a solid fuel type is being added. The capability, it has high accuracy, conventional warhead designed for rapid deployment. Role, it will strengthen India's conventional deterrence capability. It was developed in response to China's hypersonic missile. Fine. So, a decade back in 2015, I guess, this project was approved, and this missile came into being. Fine. This is being indigenously developed by DRDO. We already talked about that. Next, we will briefly look at what the Defence Research and Development Organization, that is DRDO, is all about. So, it was established in 1958, fine, after independence, with headquarter in New Delhi. A very critical juncture here is about the administrative control. So, it is not under Science and Technology Ministry, rather it is under Ministry of Defence. So, here is a pitfall again which the UPSC can tweak for you. The mandate and role you can always read. It is India's premier defence R&D organization, responsible for design and development of missiles, combat aircraft, naval systems, electronic warfare and unmanned systems as such. Key objective to achieve self-reliance under the Atmanirbhar Bharat Abhiyan. Next, quickly let us look at some of the missiles and their types. So, the Pralay missile we have talked about is short range ballistic missile. Agni series missiles are also ballistic, Prithvi series are also ballistic. BrahMos, which is in collaboration with Russia, that is a type of cruise missile. We have talked about how they were used during Operation Sindoor as such. Akash again is a surface to surface air missile. Astra is also a air to air missile. Fine. Let us move ahead. The next article which we have taken again is from the Hindu only, on page 16. So, the article talks about the National Drug Survey to examine indigenous substance use patterns. So, the second edition of National Drug Survey is being conducted, and it will for the year 2025-26, and it will be used to examine the indigenous substance. There are some indigenous substances which are used as drugs, and their effectiveness, their social acceptance and other aspects will be examined in this survey. So, the article is about that, and we will quickly look at what it intends to do. So, the summary as such is, the Union government is going to conduct the next round of national drug use survey in 2025-26 to study substances use pattern. One is how this the people use the indigenous substance as such, their pattern, including indigenous and locally prepared substance. We will talk about which are the these substance, the locally indigenous produced substance, and we will see which are the things covered under there also. So, the key point which we can talk about is, already told you about the next round of survey to be conducted by Union government. The coverage will be nearly 20 lakh individuals will be surveyed across India, across 28 states and 8 union territories, that is all state and union territories. 400 districts will be mapped under this survey. what is the objective? Intended objective is to assess extent and pattern of the substance use. So, to what extent these substances are being used, and what is the pattern deployed in their use. Then to study substance use disorders, what are the ill effects caused by these substances as such, if any existing across all district and state levels. Then what are the socio-economic implications of this the use of these substances as such, and what are the health impacts also, is there any positive impacts or it is a perceived positive impact, fine. So, that will be studied. Then it will identify emerging and new psychoactive substances also. So, certain new kinds of psychoactive substances will be identified as part of this exercise and hence taken care of. Then see, again I told you in the very beginning that is this is the second edition of exercise. The first edition it took place in 2017-18 as such. So, what is the point of difference here? We will at the end try to tabulate all and make you understand that also, but the new and the important addition, why we are covering here the topic. So, the new and important addition in this, that is for the first time being used, is that a documentation of indigenous substance use would be there. Earlier the indigenous substances were not being documented. So, these includes locally grown or prepared substances that are being used with social sanctions and ritualistic acceptance. So, there will be some kind of social sanctions as such, because the substances which we are talking about mainly are alcoholic beverages, fine. Next is cannabis, third is opium, and last they are the new and is psychotic substances, fine. So, these are the local and indigenous substances which are being deployed, and thereby the social sanction clause picks in and their ritualistic acceptance is more, and that is why they are being used as a drug. Then there is a special population group, that is a new focus which has been there. So, prison inmates will also be surveyed this time. We will see how many people are to be surveyed, fine. We have seen that 400 district across the country will be surveyed, but the number will also again see. School students will be also seen, because there is there are reports of substance abuse amongst the youngsters, the adolescents. There have been cases of rising them also. Then college and higher education institutes. So, certain reforms keeping in view the tendency amongst the newbies, the college going and the school students to have those kinds of substance abuse. To take care of that, the survey has included these two people also. Then we have already talked about the analysis of socio-economic and health implications, fine. Whether such view is viewed as harmful or worth exploring by the communities. So, as part of these two groups, we can attribute the worth exploring clause as such, fine. Next, the methodology used. So, there are two kinds of methodologies which are being proposed and which will be used in this survey as such. The first is the two sampling methods. There are two sampling methods which will be employed. The first is the household survey. So, the surveyors will be going house to house. They will be covering approximately 4.5. Just a minute. This is the page. So, they will be covering approximately 4.4 lakh of individual households. As such, about 17.56 lakh individuals will be surveyed in here, men and women with an age gap from 10 to 75 years, because the school going kids and the college going students are also now being considered. Second is the respondent driven sampling that will be used. So, approximately 2.1 lakh individuals will be surveyed in here. Then from drug dependent population also this will be there across 350 district, they will be surveyed. Fine. Now a question comes, what is meant by the respondent driven sampling? So, let me explain in a very crude and simple way. Let us say I am the surveyor, so surveyor S. So, I will pick up certain respondent of my choice whom I consider eligible for my survey. Let us say respondent 1, respondent 2, respondent 3, respondent 4, respondent 5 and respondent 6, fine, and so on. You can extrapolate. Then after surveying them, after getting feedback from them, I will ask these respondents only that who amongst you is next eligible for to be considered in this survey. So, they will let us say they suggest 3 each, maybe 4, he suggests 2, he suggests 2, 3, he suggests only 1. So, again a chain reaction kind of mechanism will develop and will have individuals based on the respondent as such. So, the respondent becomes my source and he will drive me through the sampling process as such. So, that is about respondent driven sampling. So, my contention is why it is being used. So, the advantage of this type of sampling is that it is used for hidden and hard to reach population. When it comes to the household survey, the individuals which are being affected by drug or substance abuse, they may hide, but if you know the respondent if they are drug affected, they know the people around them whom they were involved in their the abuse, substance abuse kind of thing. So, they will help to reach the likes of similars, and thereby it is an effective method to reach the hidden and hard to reach population as such. So, the survey ought to be more effective now. Again, additional studies would be done on the wastewater, fine, to locate and find which are the areas most affected, because wastewater would have the traces of those substances. So, that will also be deployed as such. Again, who are the implementing agencies and funding agencies? So, it is being funded by Union Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment. It is being conducted by National Drug Dependence Treatment Center, that is NDDTC, and AIMS in a joint manner, fine. Next, let us briefly look at the historical background of this survey. So, the survey, the first was conducted in 2017-18, I have already talked about it. It was India's first comprehensive nationwide survey on substance use. Then which are the agencies involved? Again the same agency was funded by commissioned or funded by the Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment, implemented by the said agency NTPC and AIMS in a joint fashion. Coverage in 2017-18 was approximately 5 lakh individuals as such, and it also covered all the states and union territories, fine. Their focus was primarily on alcohols, cannabis and opioids. We've included in here the new and rarer psychoactive substances also this time around, fine. Again let us go and see what these were used for. So, these were used in the governance schemes as such, in drug and addiction policies, then in rehabilitation programs and in implementing state level action plans as such. Let us move to the next slide. Here we can talk about, we can see the differences between the two surveys, the 2017-18 and 25-26. This is the proposed one, fine. So, the geographer, the individual covered, this was 5 lakh only, this is going to be scaled up to 4 times, that is 20 lakhs. Geographical detail, it was a national and state survey. Now, state and districts are being considered as a unit to be surveyed. Indigenous substances, they were not covered in here, they are now being covered in the survey for the first time. The special population, it was very limited. We have talked about the special population which will be covered in this survey. The latest one, the methodology, only household survey was considered when it came to the first survey. Now with the improved version, household survey plus RDS and the wastewater in addition will be considered to make the survey more refined as such. Focus will be on prevalence. Again, here the focus will shift to pattern and emerging trends. Identification of these things will be there. Moving on to the next articles, we can talk about, it is on again on the Hindu, the economy page. So it talks about, the title is when FIIs flew from Indian stocks. So the article talks about foreign institutional investors going away from India in the last year. It also discusses about certain reasons associated with it. So we will see what the article has to say about. So in short summary, we will see that the foreign institutional investors recorded their highest equity sell off in over 2 decades. So it was the worst phase for FIIs in India in the past 20 years as such. What are the factors? We will see consequently in the upcoming slide. So we're just skipping that part. So the key observation from the article itself, that there was a record outflow in 2025 when it comes to FIIs. So they sold Indian equities worth 1.6 lakh crores. That is a whooping amount here in the calendar year 2025. That is the highest when it comes in the past 20 years. They were the net sellers in 8 out of 12 months. So only in the 4 months they were buying the Indian equities as such. So that shows low confidence now when it comes to Indian equities. What are the reasons why this is happening? Is there any geopolitical reasons involved? We'll just going to see. The worst phase in the last year, not so important, but just to have a fair idea, was it was by March 2025 the foreign capital outflow reached 1.16 lakh crore. So that was the tune to which the foreign investors, mainly the FIIs, were pulling off their capitals from the Indian market as such. February by far was the worst month. Nifty 50 fell by 6 percentage point. Fine. Let's go back to study what were the reasons here. So the reasons were, first of all, the primary reason was the high valuation of the Indian equities as such. So the Indian stocks are being overvalued as being perceived by the foreign investors to the tune of up to 22 times. So the price to earning is very low. Fine. That means if I am investing 22 rupees as such, my earning is only 1 rupees when it for a factor of 22 times as such. Fine. So that is amongst the highest in the global market. That is why the foreign investors are pulling off from the Indian market as such. Next in line is the weak quarterly earning growth. We have already seen in the last slide that till March about 1.16 lakh crore of capital outflow was there. So there was a you can say a stream of speculations going on, bad speculation about the Indian markets, which triggered that outflow. So that led to weakening of the growth, the earnings as such. Again, the situation was exacerbated by the rupee depreciation as such. Recently we have seen rupee touching 91 rupee per dollar mark. So that is one of the lowest the rupee has seen. Thereby it reduces dollar returns on the Indian investments as such. Again, the geopolitical scenario also plays in with the global capital reallocation taking place. So the risk averse behavior of these investors, they are pulling off to more locations like Japan and Taiwan, which are the AI led market and giving more profitable returns to these investors, whereas Indian markets gave near zero returns in terms of dollars. So, that is a cause of concern. That is why such reallocation has been done. Again, we can talk about the currency impact also. So, these foreign investors outflow, it contributed to a rupee depreciation as such. So, the lowest which we are seeing, the $91 mark, that was due to this outflow, because that led to weakening of rupee as such. Fine, that is what we have talked about. Then the IPO factor. So, a point of relief came for us, because 2025 it was considered as an year of IPO. So, large IPOs came. Example, the LG IPO post July, it tried to withhold investor confidence as such, and that was the 4 months, the months of IPO, where the foreign investors held their capital in India as such. Fine, but that was not a very sustainable, or that did not sustain for long, and it was only able to held those investors for a short period of time. Then another factor was the contrast with mutual fund. So, foreign investment in Indian equity mutual funds saw net inflow of 2245 crores only. It was better than 2024, when 618 crore was withdrawn from such funds. So, that is again a reason. So, let us go a bit beyond the news. We have seen what are the factors, what are the reasons, but to what is more concerning for us from the point of view of prelims, we have to know about FIIs, what are foreign investment or foreign institutional investors as such. So, FIIs, they refer to an investor or a group of investors who are based first of all outside India, that itself comes from the name foreign, and they want to invest their money, their capital in the Indian financial assets as such. These FIIs, they also bring foreign portfolio investment into India, primarily by participating in the secondary market as such, the equity and the debt market. They do not buy in the primary market as such, but only restrict themselves to the secondary market. Some of the examples of FIIs are hedge funds, pension funds, insurance companies, mutual funds, and asset management companies. Fine. Again, coming to the regulation, because there is a classification when it comes to FIIs and FDIs. So, there are two things, FDI versus FPI. One thing which I like to tell you is that since first of all check this point, since 2014 the term FII has been incorporated into foreign portfolio investor only. Fine. So, when we talk about FPI and FIIs, we can now interchangeably use the terms, because the regulation as such, the RBI and the SEBI regulation as such notes that. So, a point of difference is when greater than 10% of equity is being brought in a company or share, then it is considered as an FDI in that sector or in that company. When it is less than that, it is considered as an FPI. FPIs are also known as hot money or helicopter money, or what else, overnight or flight. This is because of their nature, less than 10% of share involvement, thereby they do not have access to managerial roles, they do not have access to infrastructure as such, and thereby they can pull off their money anytime they want and they can go away. So, that is why it is known as hot money, because they can pull off at any time. So, because of such nature, because of such volatility, SEBI has now tried to regulate the FPIs in certain ways. So, what it does, because see it cannot go and tell them to register, because they are not involved they don't have that much stake. They have only approximately 10% of stake as such. So that is not a major stake as such. They don't have say in the matters of the company affairs as such. So why would they again go adhere to reform or register with the platform as such? So considering these factors, SEBI has asked them to abide by certain norms. So fine. So what is it has asked that they must register with the organization only, with SEBI, the financial regulator. Fine. That is the foremost condition SEBI has put forward, and that has to be adhered to. Fine. Next and the last slide for the day, we can talk about the difference between FDI and FPI. Just take a pause, and if you want you can have a snapshot of this slide as such. We have already talked about major things. Let us quickly look at before I wrap up this lecture. So the definition, by definition, the FDI, these are investments that are made in foreign business with lasting business presence, because their investment is above a certain threshold, and that is a major stake also. So that is why for lasting business presence, whereas in contrast they are made in the secondary market, in stock, bonds and other financial assets abroad. We have seen the types of FPIs as such, hedge funds, pension funds, etc. Their investment is a direct type. They will choose a company, they will choose a firm, they will have a presence in the business market as such, but here it is mostly indirect types. They have a long term investment plan, they have a short term, they can overnight flight, they can go and pull off their capital anytime they want. They are less volatile because they have a major stake, they have a lasting business presence there, they may be involved in decision making of the company as such, but here the volatility is high. They can again take their money anytime they want. Their purpose is they expand the business in a foreign country. Fine. That is why FDIs are more preferable when it comes to countries like India, where the economy is developing, the economy is expanding as such. Fine. So they need capital from outside, they need people from foreign countries to come and invest. Fine. Their purpose is to diversify investment portfolio. So they are mostly concerned with profit making as such in the foreign market. Fine. What is the impact on economy? This has a positive impact with economic growth, and it contributes to employment, because job creation will also happen when it is a lasting big business presence. Fine. Then we can talk about the impact of FPIs. They will have impact on financial market and liquidity with limited impact on direct economy as such. Entry and exit, it is difficult or moderate, it is regulated. Here we have very easy, they just, because they are just registered on the SEBI's portal as such, so they can anytime withdraw their money when and there we want. So example here can be that of Hyundai or Samsung. Samsung has a mobile manufacturing unit in Noida also. So that is example. Hyundai has its presence in the nearby NCR region also. So those are the examples of FDI. FPIs are the individuals or group of individuals, so they don't have a particular example as such. Fine. So that was there for today. I hope you had a good time and you learned a lot. Please try to answer whatever queries we posted during the course of lecture in the comment box. Thank you and have a nice day.